Don't cross the stream.
Anybody else want to negotiate?
Do not make a sound until I tell you to run.
Are you trying to make me look stupid in front of the other guests?
Any help from me, sir?
That's right.
Hello and welcome to Is It Streaming, the podcast where we pick a movie from the endless queue and help you decide if it's a hidden gem, a waste of time, or worth adding to your watch list. I'm your host, Kevin Rossi, and as always, I'm joined by both my co-hosts, Silvia Graziano and John Mostich. John, why don't you let the listeners know what movie we are covering this week?
I will do so in our inaugural kickoff, fun time, magical podcast. This is stuff that we do every day. We love to talk about movies. And today we're talking about a classic 1987 financial drama, Wall Street, starring Michael Douglas, Charlie Sheen, and Martin Sheen. I'll just sum it up in a nutshell. Academy Award for Best Actor, Michael Douglas. All right, we can end the podcast there. So is it streaming?
It is streaming on two different platforms. We got Disney Plus and Hulu. So two options right there for you.
Silvia, before we break things down, give us your history with this movie. Was this a rewatch for you? Was it a first-time viewing experience? And also, let us know your initial thoughts.
Well, it was a rewatch, but you know, this is the thing about films like this. Like it came out in '87. I have not seen the film in a very, very long time. I was much younger when I first saw it. And in fact, I don't even know if I finished the film because probably it bored me. I was like, I don't fucking understand any of this stuff. But my rewatch, I found it intriguing. There's so many aspects of this film that are very intriguing. Obviously interesting for that time in the 80s and what was, essentially happening economically, politically, socially. It's kind of amazing how relevant it is today. And we'll be discussing that later as well.
All right, John, same question to you.
So I was a little bit older, I think, when that came out. I probably saw it in the movie theaters, and I probably was similar to Silvia. This has a lot of financial talk and a lot of things. And honestly, Ferris Bueller's Day Off kind of did the stock market thing in a more fun way. Some of the scenes were really great. It's interesting because actually, speaking of Ferris Bueller, Charlie Sheen was in Ferris Bueller, and that was kind of one of his launch pads before he got into this. Obviously Platoon before that. I enjoyed it back then. It probably was not my favorite because it was really about finances and relationships, and probably at that point in my life I wasn't that crazy to sit down and listen. But in looking at it now, I liked it a great deal more. Sylvia and I will joke. I've watched it 3 times in the last week, I'd say. Each time I liked it a little bit less, to be candid, but I have to go by that first impression and go, yeah, it's a solid movie. And the performance of Douglas is just fantastic.
Absolutely agree. As both of you, I had seen this before. I had seen it probably in my teens. I don't remember this movie. When I think of Wall Street, I more think of the movie Boiler Room, because when they famously go to, I think it's Vin Diesel's house, and they're watching Wall Street, and Vin Diesel is reciting the scene where Gordon Gekko is introduced. So I more thought of that scene, but when I rewatched it, wasn't super thrilled with the movie. I didn't think it was that great the first watch, and then I started doing some more research, started appreciating it more. I've also seen it 3 times. Silvia and I also watched Wall Street 2, Money Never Sleeps. And honestly, that gave a lot more perspective on this movie. I don't think that movie is better than this movie, but I would say this movie is a good movie, not a great movie, but there are some fantastic performances in it. I feel like the themes are still very relevant to today. Yeah, so as we said, this movie was released in 1987. It was directed by Oliver Stone. It was also co-written by Oliver Stone and Stanley Weiser. This was Stone's follow-up to Platoon, which was released a year previously in 1986. Platoon went on to win 4 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Director for Stone, Best Film Editing for Claire Simpson, Best Sound for a bunch of sound guys. Sorry, I'm not going to read all your names. But we do have a clip from Oliver Stone talking about jumping into this movie so quickly after having just recently won the Oscar for Best Picture the year before.
I wanted to go back to my roots in New York after Vietnam and see what it was like and explore the new Wall Street, which I noticed during I was writing Scarface in the early 80s in Miami. There was so much coke around and so many lunatics. And guys from New York, these kids, like for the first time I'd ever seen, millionaires to me were in their 60s, you know, older men were rich. Here were these kids running around with 25, 28, 35, with millions of dollars, with these, you know, playing the market all over the world around the clock. It was just like a new world. My father would have been shocked at the electronics that allowed that to happen.
He was writing Scarface, right? Which is obviously a power-hungry movie that's all about drugs. And he's like, I should write about the stock market. A lot of the same motivations, right?
I mean, say hello to my little friend who greed is good.
An important thing that you heard him say, it's like that he talked to his father about it, and that's
Yes.
his father was a stockbroker.
And motivation for one of the characters in our film.
And the movie is dedicated to Lou Stone.
Yeah, I guess his father was a stockbroker for 50 years.
It was during the Great Depression, I think. That's what I thought I read. And it's interesting because this film came out in 87, right? But it takes place in 1985. That's when his father passed away.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he made it set in the year that his father passed away.
It's fascinating that that's a father-son duo, but we also have the actor father-son duo of Martin and Charlie. That's pretty cool.
This film currently has a 7.3 rating on IMDb. And here is the log line. An impatient young stockbroker is willing to do anything to get to the top, including trading on illegal inside information taken through a ruthless, greedy corporate raider who takes the youth under his wing. Now, John, Silvia, let's set the stage for this movie. This movie takes place in New York City in 1985. So what's happening during this period, mid-80s?
There was a total duality going on in New York City, right? There's this like economic boom that's happening because we got Reagan in office. We got Reaganomics trickle down, which we know how that worked.
What else is happening in New York is cocaine.
Not mentioned too much in this film.
That's what I actually would say is like not very accurate.
I do like how nonchalantly it comes up, though, and it's like, yeah, of course I'll do.
Anytime, anywhere, whatever,
Yeah, it's like a throwaway.
You know what's also not mentioned during this time, too, though, is AIDS epidemic. That was a big thing that was infecting New York, big cities, right? And New York was really hit very quickly.
Yeah, they do a great job of showing the city and the hustle and the bustle, and they go into the stock market world, but you're absolutely right. They completely avoid that topic. I don't believe was there any LGBTQ presence in this?
Nothing. And I honestly would say there also wasn't many people of color in just general, and you see this film, or ethnicity.
Yeah, and also during this time, it was the beginning of the technology boom. Cell phones.
Yep.
Nintendo was first entering the gaming market in 1985. Microsoft released Windows 1.1. There's a lot of computers in this, but in order to make the actual trades, you're calling down to the New York Stock Exchange floor. And a guy literally writing the stuff down on white sheets.
So crazy. Like,
The film featured some amazing screens. Like they would in the car, they would have the screen. Oh, as a matter of fact, Michael Douglas at one point pulls out a little television screen that's 2 inches by 2 inches, and he's like, check it out. I've got the
And
TV.
Sheen goes, I can barely see
Yeah.
it. Silvia, you have a few things in common with this film, especially Charlie Sheen's character, Bud Fox. Both of you went to NYU. And both of you are former residents of New York City.
Yeah, so I lived in New York City pre 9/11 and post 9/11. It was a fascinating time because late 90s, New York still had that sort of grungy kind of quality. The thing about New York in the 80s, which I wish I lived in New York during that time, is that art was flourishing, conversation with art, and a lot of social protests. And punk was huge too during that time in the 80s, in New York specifically. And it's so funny because of like the contrast with what was happening financially, right? The boom of Wall Street, giving that power to Wall Street. The late 90s, you started to see things kind of change. But I lived in the Lower East Side. I was very lucky in that idea of like living around like Astor Place. So there were still a lot of really cool things happening there. And I got the tail end of that because then 9/11 happened and New York changed completely.
Love the beginning of this movie. I almost feel like this movie goes downhill the more it plays, honestly. The opening montage of the aerial shots over New York City, you see the World Trade Centers, you see the subways, you see the people on the street and the hustle and bustle. I think it's one of the best montages in the movie. There's a few montages, but that's by far my favorite.
And it's a great depiction of New York. There's like some grime.
What I do love about what you're saying right there is, yes, visually you're seeing all that, but meanwhile you're hearing Frank Sinatra
Yes.
singing his very which song is it?
Is it Fly Me to the Moon?
Fly Me to the Moon, yeah. And it's such an eloquent song and it's so beautiful. And yet you're looking at kind of grimy images. So it's very good juxtaposition with Wall Street versus the grunge city that was New York. And I actually visited New York the year this movie came out. It was a grunge city, boy. It had its good places, and that was my favorite part of it too.
I love that. I mean, that's honestly, like, I miss that part of New York.
So at the very end of the montage, we see Charlie Sheen's character, Bud Fox. He's reading the newspaper. He's crossing the street and then he's getting into a crowded elevator on his way to work at the brokerage firm, Jackson Steinem. He walks on the trading floor. They have computers everywhere. We meet some of the central characters, at least on the trading floor. We see his best friend, Marvin, played by John McGinley. We also get introduced to Lou Mannheim, who was inspired by Oliver Stone's father. He's played by Hal Holbrook. I honestly think Lou steals every scene he is in. He is kind of the wise man on the road here. He's also more famously known, I would say, as Deep Throat in All the President's Men. He is a fantastic actor. And then we also are introduced to the sales manager of the floor, Harry Lynch, played by James Karen. I think we do have a clip here from Charlie Sheen about him meeting actual stockbrokers for the inspiration for this character.
I wanted to capture the energy of these guys. I wanted to get some sense of what drove them, of why they worshipped this world and became slaves to it, to sell their mother to sell a stock. And they hooked me up with some very interesting people that took me into and through that world. I purchased some stocks and was able to chart them on a daily basis during the rehearsals and throughout the picture. There were certain guys that I sort of understood what they were doing, but I could never picture it as my own lifestyle. It's not that it was so foreign, it's just that the ideals, the motivation. There was an absolute and complete, total absence of compassion and creativity. It was all about money. It was all about greed being good.
I gotta say, that is incredibly accurate. You know, these people don't lie about who they are. They really don't. You know, you go into this world, this is really what you care about.
Yeah, it is interesting because we talked about the drug use and stuff. And I think in the stock world, that was so prevalent that they could have taken that opportunity to show that. I think probably why we didn't see a lot of that is because this film really focused on two people. It didn't focus on the 10 other people. You mentioned Bud, not Bud, who's his leader there at the office? Lou. Like we mentioned. Oh, it's interesting. Lou, it's his dad's name.
Yeah, that was intentional.
Yeah. So we learn about all these characters vaguely, but we don't really get into their lives. And we don't like say, oh, this one has a drug habit. This one has this. Otherwise, probably about 50% of the people in that room would have a drug habit. I'm expecting a lot of bad letters from former stockbrokers from 1987 to get to me.
John, why don't you give out your home address just so they don't have...
Yeah, exactly, right? Social Security, all that. You have to give them all that.
I'm sure they already have all that.
I guess the big thing is the hustle and bustle of that scene, right? And then at the very end, at the end of the day, Marvin has some great lines. Bud Fox, Charlie Sheen's character, he is cold calling a lot of people. He's trying to get people to invest in stocks, and the way that he's making the money is he's putting in the stock trades for that person and he's taking a percentage. So he calls every day this big time shark, Gordon Gekko, and Marvin reminds him right at the very end of the day, hey, you got to do your Gekko call. So he calls Gekko. The secretary says he doesn't deal with like regular stockbrokers like you. You're just the small fish in the pond. And Marvin has a great line right before it closes. He's like, I need the info, not 10 minutes from now. 10 minutes from now, it's going to be history. At 4:00, I'm a dinosaur.
I love that line so much.
Good. There's a lot of good lines in this film. I will give them that. There's a lot of good lines, but also a lot of cheesy lines for sure.
And just getting back to what you were saying, Kevin, about just the opening and kind of creating that environment of chaos. I love the way the elevator scene is shot as Charlie Sheen's character, Bud, is getting into the building. The close-ups of people's faces, the stress, the anxiety, and also just kind of the disgust of people around them. There's no personal space. So I don't miss that about New York. That's the one thing I was like, I think at my age, I can't do New York. But my 20s was awesome.
Yeah, I'd much rather be like Carl Fox, Bud Fox's father, which is the next scene that we see. Bud goes to meet his father at a bar after work. So we get the intro of Martin Sheen, who's also obviously Charlie Sheen's
Yeah.
father. He is a union rep, and he works as, I want to say he works as a mechanic also at Blue Star Airlines. It looks like he's, at least working on some
or a
planes.
manager or leader of a group, because they don't really ever show him working, but
Well, he's at least in the hangar
He is.
with
He's
planes,
on
so he's not
site
sitting
all the
in an
time. Like,
office.
it seems. Yeah.
He's on site.
Blue
Yeah,
collar.
absolutely. And I think the thing that they really cover in here is Carl Fox, this blue collar working guy. He doesn't make much money. I mean, he's still making like $120,000 equivalent. So he's doing pretty good. He's living in New Jersey, but he's not making stockbroker money. But meanwhile, Bud Fox still has school loans. He's broke. He's borrowing money from Carl Fox. He's borrowing like $300 a month. He's kind of putting down his dad, being like, poverty is not novel anymore in today's society. Me making 50 grand in New York City is not that much money. Meanwhile, 50 grand is like $148,000 equivalent in today's money.
And that's a really accurate conversation, though. Living in New York, everything I earned literally went to rent. That is essentially what it's like to live in Manhattan.
So again, let's talk about Bud Fox's apartment once he gets some. Is this the right time?
Oh no, we got to save that for later. We got
for later, boy.
I got a lot of thoughts. I feel like we need to introduce some characters before then, and we will get into all that.
Oh my God, that apartment.
But yeah, so we meet his father. They set up that whole storyline where he's kind of he's borrowing money from his father because he is down and out. He's not making money. So the next day is Gordon Gekko's birthday. He has it written down on his computer at his home. So he goes to Gordon Gekko's office and he's bringing him Cuban cigars, trying to weasel his way into Gordon Gekko's office for a meeting. He gives the cigars to the secretary. Secretary brings him inside and says, "Okay, you wait here." So he sits there waiting for 3 hours in order to meet Gordon Gekko, then finally gets the invite. And I believe we have part of the conversation for when he walks into Gekko's office.
This is the kid. Calls me 59 days in a row, wants to be a player. Ought to be a picture of you in the dictionary on our persistence, kid. Yeah. Now listen, Jerry, I'm looking for negative control, okay? No more than 30, 35%. Just enough to block anybody else's merger plans and find out from the inside if the books are cooked. Looks as good as on paper. We're in the kill zone, pal. We were locked and load. Lunch? Oh, you gotta be kidding. Lunch is for wimps. Okay, Billy, I'll talk at you.
Apparently that lunch is for wimps is a very
It's
famous
iconic.
line, which I had not actually heard before. It was not in
I've never heard it. It's just in that world. That world, it's very, very popular.
I imagine, like, if you're a stockbroker, you only have so many hours to work, right? So every minute counts. So lunch is for
Yeah. Just for whims, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, right now is really where we meet the star of this film, Michael Douglas playing Gordon Gekko. I had actually heard the name Gordon Gekko just used in so many conversations without even referencing this movie. It's definitely a character that's lived on far past the actual film.
He's iconic. How he's become this sort of anti-hero, it's kind of nuts. His monologues, it's hard not to be kind of, I don't know, under the influence.
It's under the spell. Very intoxicating. The way that he speaks, obviously his lifestyle, and also just Michael Douglas is just such a great actor and he's so charismatic.
He has thrown his morals away a long time ago.
Yeah.
He speaks to one God, and that is the almighty more. He wants everything he can get, and man, is he good at getting it. It's so nice in this scene that you just played. You realize he's actually giving out stock tips secretly and completely manipulating Charlie Sheen. So when he goes back to his office, he's going with, "Oh, I got all this insider information," but Gekko knows he's manipulating the kid right out of the gate. It's such a beautiful bit of manipulation.
And it turns into a test later on, and it actually is one of the pivotal scenes for Charlie Sheen deciding and actually begging for a second chance. So in that scene, obviously this is the first time we hear about Teldar Paper, which is a company that Michael Douglas, Gordon Gekko, is trying to take majority share control in this company. When he's pretty much about to be pushed out of the office, Bud Fox tells him about Blue Star. Now, when he was sitting with his father at the bar, his father told him that, there was an investigation to an accident that happened 2 years ago. And he heard from their union reps that they are going to get a favorable decision that's going to say, hey, it was a mechanical failure with the door. It was not a fault of the actual airline itself. So that's going to open them up to new routes and a lot more money coming in. So obviously this is insider information that Bud Fox then leaks to Gordon Gekko in order to try to get in his good graces. So
it's a sure thing, man.
It's a sure thing. Absolutely. There's no such thing as a sure thing, according to Lou.
Yeah,
Manheim.
and
But
can we comment on the fact there's that one line that Charlie Sheen says actually before he meets Gordon is when he's looking in the mirror. Life all comes down to a few moments. This is one of them. It's actually like a real sort of business motto. You only get one chance.
well, I'll tell you what, Michael Douglas, his chance to play Gordon Gekko actually set his career on a different path. Because up until then, he had played some of the starring roles, but he wasn't this, villain-esque type of character. He was kind of like he was more of like an Indiana Jones kind of like charismatic guy, but not like really like a morally ambiguous guy. And we have a clip here of Michael Douglas talking about taking the role.
My career up until then, I'd been doing sensitive young men roles and even Fatal Attraction just before that was, guys sort of manipulated by a woman. So to have that kind of opportunity and it sort of set the tone for me, good and bad in the future part of my career after Wall Street, that was an ultimate role in terms of being a bad guy and being nasty. And so I got it down pretty good.
I would say he did because I think most roles I can think of, he's playing a bad guy. Typically, or a guy that's under extreme pressure.
After that, when was War of the Roses?
1989.
So it was after that. Okay. And I love those films. I had such a huge crush on that guy. Literally,
Me
when this
too.
came out. Yeah.
So to me, that the one of the great quotes that happened was you were talking about the dog. This is a stock that's a dog with fleas. The beautiful part of that is after that scene, Charlie Sheen's character goes back and talks to his guys and says, somebody asks about a certain stock. He's like, oh, that's a dog with fleas. And it's so cool to see how he is so wanting to be Gordon Gekko in everything he says, in his mannerisms, in the way he talks, his quotations. It's really a cool little touch. You pick up on it very clearly as the viewer.
Yeah, he's soaking it up like a sponge
Yeah.
for sure.
It becomes very nuanced, the small, sort of changes in his behavior.
And that's only the beginning of the snaring of Bud Fox by Gekko, because obviously the next scene is where he's back at the office and he gets the call. He's biting on Blue Star Airlines, so he tells him to buy a bunch of stock. And now he is the king of the castle on the trading floor. From there, they go to meet for lunch the next day. And Gordon hands him $1 million check, which you can tell Charlie had never seen this type of money before, or Bud Fox, I should say. And now he's really got his teeth into him.
I had to pause this like 3 or 4 times because I was like, well, how much is that? And there's a lot of zeros on that freaking check.
And for that time, too, you're like, holy shit.
They'll be handing like $10 million to somebody right now, right? It's like just amazing.
It's the equivalent of $3 million today.
Okay, fuck you.
So he's got his hooks into him. He tells him, buy a shitload more stock, put it into some of the stocks that got dogs with fleas, make sure I don't lose more than $100,000. Other than the insider trading, he still doesn't have Charlie Sheen doing too much stuff because Charlie Sheen has actually offered up that insider trading, right? He's not really being manipulated too hard by Gekko here, but
he will be.
Gordon Gekko has done so far is not really illegal. And apparently that restaurant was at the time a very popular restaurant where a lot of deals were actually going down.
And also, too, he talks about the perks that he's going to get if he keeps giving the good intel. So then the next scene is we have Charlie in his book and clutter-ridden apartment, and a woman shows up and says, hey, Gekko sent me, Gordon sent me, we're going to go on the town, get dressed. And then they get into a limo. And of course, this is the only time that cocaine shows up. They start doing some coke and they just start riding around town about to have a good time. So you can start seeing the perks already rolling in from being inside the world of Gordon Gekko.
So before I mentioned that I went to New York in that year, and that wasn't my experience back then. It was...
Oh, man. Yeah, New York during that time. I mean, Red Light District was also very, very active at the time. When I was living there, it was near the tail end of the Red Light District, and I actually really love spending time there. So, I don't know if that says about me, but
it's funny because when I was there, it was very much like that scene where Gordon Gekko looks out and sees the fairly wealthy man standing next to the person that is clearly homeless, has like a shopping cart, and you're like, wow, there's such a difference in this world. I'm sure Oliver Stone was like taken aback, and he mentioned it in the interview you just played, where you have these people that are making millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars in a day. And how can they live side by side with that person that's on the side of the street that has no food and is, dealing with the life? It was a fascinating time. I actually really enjoyed my time when I was there. I was only there for a short time, but Sylvia has a much better perspective than I do.
I loved my time in New York, honestly. I really did. I think in the 80s, I would have been one of the poor artists within the art world. We start seeing it sort of being purchased by people like Gordon Gekko. It's the most expensive art you put on the wall, but do they know anything about it? It's just about buying. It's about owning.
Really, what this movie boils down to is greed is good. No, but that seeing that greed is obviously not good, but there is benefit to it, and there are negatives to it, and then you have a person standing side by side with somebody else that is not living that lifestyle, and which is better? Which is better, the person that's just giving it all up, or the person that wants it all? I don't know. That's that middle. I live in the middle world.
Yeah, and in one of the next scenes is where Charlie Sheen is with Michael Douglas in the limo, and Gekko actually gives some background on his family. I think this is the only thing we really hear about, other than he went to New York University, NYU, and this is him talking about his father.
My father, he worked like an elephant pushing electrical supplies till he dropped dead at 49 with a heart attack and tax bills. Wake up, will you, pal? If you're not inside, you are outside, okay? And I'm not talking about some $400,000 a year working Wall Street stiff, flying first class and being comfortable. I'm talking about liquid. Rich enough to have your own jet. Rich enough not to waste time. $50, $100 million, buddy. A player.
And the line that is actually not in that clip is a player or nobody. The dichotomy between that and just the mentality of you're either everything or you're nothing, which is just such a wild way to look at life.
Gordon Gekko's, when he talks, it's almost an inner monologue.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, I'm justifying my abusive behavior because this is a good thing. But he does it with a microphone in his hand. And he has a group of shareholders in front of him that he's convincing of his brain's inner thoughts are good. It's pure evil. It's not good. You should love your fellow man a little. But anyway, he just like throws all that out. Again, his morality's gone, and he's in it for the almighty dollar.
And Charlie Sheen's response to this is literally, and I quote, "Okay, Mr. Gekko, you got me." So he bought the whole freaking thing from the get-go. This guy is just power and money hungry. And we have another clip from Mr. Michael Douglas about Charlie and that scene.
Charlie shows how much he wants to make money, because by doing a couple of things beforehand and taking a couple of tips illegally and acting on them, I own him now. He's already done a couple of things in this movie, which shows me just how much he wants it. And yes, he would screw his father, as he did. Did I create that? I think I guided it. I gave him a taste of what that was all about. And then his hunger became insatiable.
It's just so spot on. It just takes giving just a little bit. It's the taste of it. People don't know when to stop.
Well, he said the word, I owned him. Like that.
I owned him, yeah.
Ultimately, that's what all Gordon wants to do. It's actually not even about the money. It's about owning the situation.
I thought that you were going to turn Blue Star around, not upside down. You fucking used me.
Well, you're walking around blind without a cane, pal. The fool and his money are lucky enough to get together in the first place.
But why do you need to wreck this company?
Because it's wreckable, all right? I took another look at it and I changed my mind.
If these people lose their jobs, they got nowhere to go. My father has worked there for 24 years. I gave him my word.
It's all about bucks, kid. The rest is conversation.
It's literally the power, right? I control all of this. I own it. I don't care how much I make, because it's not even a monetary thing. He doesn't care about dollar signs. He says it's literally because he can. It's this idea that I can do it. And that's what greed does.
And obviously, we have Charlie Sheen's character who has reluctantly at first given up the information that his father has given to him that he knows is against the law. And once that happens, Gordon Gekko does truly own Charlie Sheen's character. So at that point, he's able to manipulate him any way he wants to. But Charlie's character is very willing to be manipulated. So there's a certain point he goes down the road. He ultimately doesn't redeem himself, but he finds his moral center, I think. I don't want to get ahead in our discussion.
I don't know if he does. I
Yeah,
mean,
I have a thing about Bod is he is used as a chess piece to kind of be moved around, essentially, I think. Like, he's not really the main focus of this film. I obviously get that, but he has to counter, right? Gekko. But it's not a strong enough figure. There's something about him. I guess because the fact that he's so easily manipulated. But what does he learn? Does he learn anything?
My perspective might be off because I haven't seen Wall Street 2. But in my perspective, near the end of this film, Bud does go back and get at Gordon Gekko. He does basically turn himself into the authorities. So to me, he's ultimately at least admitted that, hey, what I've been doing is absolutely wrong. Now let me fuck over the guy that just got me to
Yeah.
do all this.
I mean, he definitely does do that, and he wants to obviously win back the love and respect of his father because he realized, like, what a shit he's been. I mean, he just sold out his dad. Like, literally took his job away, his security. It's short-sightedness. That is the thing about the greed. It's short-sighted.
and the only reason why, though, is not because of the moral problem of him taking companies and wrecking them and pretty much saying, hey, these are more valuable if I just sell off the assets and destroy these companies. It's really just the fact that it's his father that works at this company, right? Because earlier in the film, when they're doing the Anacott Steel deal, where Sir Larry Wildman is trying to buy Anacott Steel, and they get inside information because they figure out that his plane is going to Pennsylvania. Charlie is very willing to be like, oh, this thing, if we break it up, is worth $80 a share, and has no problem with ruining the entire thing. Meanwhile, this other billionaire, this English billionaire, Sir Larry Wildman, is like, no, I actually care about this company. It's got third and fourth generation steel workers. I'm in it for the long haul. So really, I don't know how much. I mean, I guess, it's always that thing where it always hurts if it's closer to home. But at the same time, I just feel only because it's his father. And also, too, I feel like it's a vendetta. It's revenge at that point because he feels like he's been used by Gordon Gekko.
And that's the absolute thing that sort of runs Wall Street. There's the revenge. I mean, like, isn't there a term? Because actually, Gordon Gekko, what is he called in the Wall Street world? Something raiders, right? Corporate raiders. He's actually called a raider.
It is interesting because the words that he uses is greed is good, right? Greed. But at the end of the day, he's really more about revenge because he doesn't go after Sir Lawrence Wildman for greed. He goes after him for revenge, for taking something he had.
There's a form of greed in that, right? I mean,
I feel like it's more of a dick measuring contest.
Are we allowed to say dick measuring contest?
Oh, we absolutely are. This
yeah,
is
we
our
can swear.
podcast.
I mean, I've been swearing. Jesus.
The scene where he goes to Gordon Gekko's house and it ends up being a party, and he's going there to have him sign papers. It's a great scene for the fact that other than being in his office or his limo or his yacht club, this is actually how Michael Douglas lives when he's quote unquote not on the clock, right? He's got the beach house that costs more than $400,000 because they're looking around in the paintings, and Daryl Hannah's character Darian is saying, oh, this was worth $400,000, this was worth $1 million, and they're all objectively terrible looking.
Oh, they're horrible.
They're horrible. Bud Fox is so in over his head. Like, he's just such a moron when he's talking to them about this artwork too. I mean, he's literally putting down the art, putting down pretty much the art appraiser job, the whole thing, and really looking like a buffoon in this, millionaires club. And then Sir Larry Wildman shows up, and then that's where Gekko just decides to sell off the shares. Even though he's going to make a few $1 million, he at least stuck it to Sir Larry Wildman. But from that, I don't know if that whole lifestyle or that scene was very appealing, other than he was kind of the henchman for Gekko. He even says to Sir Larry Wildman, oh, this is Bud Fox. He's one of my gang.
The terminology it's evident, right? It's very specific. It's also like, look, Gordon is a very smart man. He manipulates every situation and every person around him. Inviting him to his home was essentially a play on, I know you're going to fall for Darian. That's sort of what's going to happen. I already know who you are. I know who you are because you remind me of who I was when I was younger. So it's the kind of idea. I know exactly what you're going to do. Oh my God. And how about, can we talk about Sean Young's character playing his wife?
Yes, I love Sean Young. Yes. Famously of Blade Runner, Sean Young.
Exactly. I love Sean Young, but like, I mean, this role for her, what is going on here?
Yeah, it was very, very out of the pocket for her, especially. And I think this is a good time to mention that out of all the characters, I feel like Daryl Hannah's character, Darian, is the worst written of this entire film. It is so two-dimensional, one-dimensional. It's absolutely horrible. And she won a Razzie for this. I don't know if it's actually her fault. I feel it's really just the fact that it was written so poorly. And in one of the behind the scenes videos I watched, Sean Young was actually petitioning to play this character, which I think that it was wrong casting, honestly. They should have had Sean Young play this character. And to this day, it's the only film that has won a Oscar and a Razzie in the same year.
The unfortunate thing is that her character, and I actually really love her as an actress, but the character had no depth. The only thing it really had was that she was the female version of Gordon Gekko in the art world, but they didn't use that in any way.
Yeah.
She barely spoke. She was there as Charlie Sheen's MacGuffin in the movie. Like, he wanted to be with her, but honestly, if she disappeared from half the movie, you didn't notice.
No, absolutely not.
She's just, and it's unfortunate, right? Daryl Hannah, a very beautiful woman, right? A beautiful actress. And she knew that was the role that was going to be, is the fact is she's a tall blonde and she is going to be used for her looks in this role. And that's essentially what this role was. I don't know what was told to her about this role, but it's one dimensional. And the whole point is this is what greed does. And she even says, once you get a taste of it, it's harder than if you never had it at all.
She's unwilling to leave the lifestyle.
Doesn't care how morals, ethics go out the window at that point. It doesn't matter. You don't cross Gordon Gekko.
Yeah, I wish the character was written better. She's also in Blade Runner, and her character in Blade Runner is absolutely fantastic.
It's
I would
pivotal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a stunning performance. I wish that they
Yeah.
gave a little bit more to the female characters in this for sure.
So
It wasn't really about the women. They were just objects. It
Yeah.
was an ownership thing in this film. And
as a matter of fact, we see one woman, additional woman that Charlie Sheen has a relationship with. She's in the bed. She's naked. She gets up. She walks out. We don't know anything about her. She's never seen again. She is a random. It almost personifies hey, this movie is not about. Nobody gives a shit about the women here. We're just about the money. And that's really the personification of that movie too.
yeah, that woman where she was just like a throwaway. I would say some of the research I was doing too is that there's still more Johns in this world than you're going to find more of the females. And I don't mean you, John.
I take
Mostyn.
it back.
I mean,
There's more CEOs named John than there are women CEOs.
exactly. Like we just don't see that in this world. And I don't know if it's because of also our makeup. Like, I don't know if it's like this idea of greed kind of taking over a certain type. But the money changes a lot of people. I don't care. It doesn't matter what gender, really. Honestly, money does major damage. You don't make it your God. You cannot.
That gives a great quote. Money makes you do things you don't want to do.
Lou Mannheim, Mr. Lou
Oh.
Mannheim. He is fantastic.
I love Lou. I love all of his lines. And Kevin, is it in the interview that Oliver Stone does that you shared with us that he actually talks about the fact that Charlie Sheen never understood anything that honestly that character was even saying to him too? He was like, I don't know where any of that shit was coming from.
Yeah. He did not understand all the wise words that Lou Mannheim was telling him. I feel like that talks to Charlie, to him as a person.
Wait, how does he respond? Then he goes, and I'm not a dumb person. And I'm like, I don't know, Charlie.
I don't know. Time's on your side on that one, my friend, Mr. Sheen. Especially, I mean, the whole duality of, Martin Sheen being such an amazing guy. I mean, you look at the West Wing. He's like the perfect president. There's a reason why he's, cast as that. He's like such a moral president. And then you have Charlie Sheen, tiger blood and, smoking crack with hookers. It fell pretty far from the tree there. With all the shit that they give, Daryl Hannah for her performance in this. I mean, Charlie Sheen is good in this. He's definitely not great. I don't think he holds up with acting chops of Michael Douglas. I think that kind of plays out through the career.
I think you run into this weird place with what is that character expected to do? It's supposed to be a character that's easily manipulable, that's, hey, I want to go get ahead at all costs, that wants the money and the girl and all that fun stuff. So he kind of meets that qualification. So he as a character has done what the character is supposed to do. His character is quite simply there to be manipulated and then to either become the hero or the sucker, and he's both. So I liked his performance overall. I thought, now I don't disagree with you. Michael Douglas fucking steals this show.
I mean,
Well,
how do you even act like how do you act like alongside that? It's very
Agreed. Yeah.
it's
I mean, I feel like we're talking about this. Let's cut to the most pivotal scene in this film. What scene are we going to go and play a section of here, guys?
oh, most pivotal scene?
well, I guess we should talk about greed then a little bit, huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
Greed is
the board of directors?
yes at the Teledar
boy.
Paper Board of Directors meeting, which now Gordon Gekko is the majority stakeholder, and he is trying to convince the other stakeholders that they need to overrule the management and let Gordon start making the calls.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit. Greed in all of its forms. Greed for life, for money, for love, knowledge, has marked the upward surge of mankind, and greed, you mark my words, will not only save Teldar Paper, but that other malfunctioning corporation called the USA.
Oh, how American is that?
I mean, the malfunctioning corporation of the US. He hits every because he also then talks to the intellectuals, right? We're going to talk about your hunger for knowledge and everything is that nothing should stop you from gaining the things that you wanted. He's very convincing, and it did not turn out the way people watched that and they thought, I want to be him. I mean, it's
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of interviews where Michael Douglas talks about where whenever he's walking down the street in New York City, stockbrokers will come up to him and say, you were the inspiration for me getting into being a stockbroker. And most famously, The Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort also said that Gordon Gekko is his inspiration, which Michael Douglas, has said that's a terrible, terrible take. That's not what you should be taking away from Gordon Gekko's character.
he's like totally grossed out by it. But
Yeah.
it's like, but when you think about people that were watching this film, and it's funny, and actually a few people have actually even noted that the reason why we had the 2008 recession is likely because of the people that walked Wall Street, and they were coming of an age, getting into Wall Street and creating this crash, essentially.
All right, we can start talking about the insurance market and so forth right now.
It is a thing that you have to realize how much that started to transform also our country, right? And it's kind of amazing how influential this film was, and not in a positive way. Why do we think this is okay? Why do we make money our god? Why is that a thing that we do? And you're kind of like, well, I don't know. The 70s sucked here in America. We were dealing with a lot of financial turmoil. I mean, Nixon, what is he? Removes the gold standard.
Which Lou calls out in the movie.
Exactly. It's actually it's so there's so many aspects of it that are so relevant to like what was going on in the time, and then you see what that film did for the future.
I want to speak about the future real quick. I mentioned before the scene where we're in Gordon Gekko's beach home or other home, and there is a character who's actually played by a person by the name of the Robot Butler.
Oh, one of the most important characters in this film, the Robot Butler.
How did you guys feel about the acting chops of the Robot Butler?
I don't know. I think his turning, he turned maybe 35 degrees and he did it kind of slow.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, guys. I think the advancement of that time would have we would have been, yeah.
But you know what's funny? What other 80s movie also has a robot? Can you guys think about it? A rich guy has a robot. Yeah, Rocky, right? And it's just like, what is the deal with the 80s and these oversized robots? It's just very strange.
Oliver Stone evidently hated the Robot Butler because he felt it made it dated, which is interesting because the whole film is dated, right? But the cell phones made it dated, but Oliver Stone felt that the Robot Butler, where it was in its technology, made the film very dated.
You're like, all right, this is the retro future.
It definitely took me out of it when they had that Robot Butler.
I didn't understand. I honestly was like, do we need this?
Interesting is you're absolutely right. It takes you like all the other things happening. You look at the Robot Butler, you want to know more about the Robot Butler, and they're acting their asses off. And the Robot Butler is doing absolutely nothing, but we're all focused on the Robot Butler.
I feel like now is a great time now that we've introduce Daryl Hannah's character, we need to talk about the art in this film, the interior decoration in this film, and the atrocity that this whole
Hold
thing
on
is.
now.
John's
Hold
like,
on
my
now.
apartment looked like that, okay?
It looks just like Bud Fox's
Actually, my house looks
apartment.
like that right now.
His Bud Fox is the apartment that Bud Fox buys once becomes a big time stockbroker.
How does that, when he bought that place, I was like, that's gorgeous. What you turned it into, no.
I like he moved from a village or an apartment that's known as like the brick wall apartment. And the first thing he does is in this fancy new apartment is puts in a brick wall. It's kind of cool. And he's kind of like artistically, maybe it's shining through in his new apartment, but
also too, like the way that they put up this brick wall is like it's a veneer, and they literally staple gun this thing.
Oh
to
my
the
God.
wall.
I like couldn't. I had to turn away when I was watching that. I was like, this is horrible.
It was so bad. And then the picture of like all the faces on, I mean, everything was just absolutely horrendous. And I love how they're talking in one of the scenes where it's like after they like make a dinner or something, and they're talking about like what they want to do in the future. And Daryl Hannah says, I want to make a line of affordable antiques, just like somebody did for I'm like thinking, how do you make antiques? Like, I don't
new
understand.
antiques. That's the new antique.
The new antiques. I'm going to make antiques. Okay.
Like that robot.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, hence that like gives us that unfortunate character that Daryl's playing. It's like she's ultimately she did it. I know you're like, oh, it didn't look gorgeous or anything, but she did a lot of work.
Too much effort went into this.
Way too much effort in that apartment.
Right to the table choice, the coffee table that literally Gordon Gekko drops his plate because it's not actually a full table.
Yes, it's great. And he's a millionaire, and he's used to living in the life of luxury, and he doesn't even know what the fuck to do with this coffee table.
Like, well,
yeah.
I mean, to a great degree, I'm sorry, this again personifies this, right? He doesn't need all this stuff. He doesn't need to have a brick wall encompassed in another wall. He doesn't need faces on the wall. He doesn't need 20 pieces of art and weird tables and tables with no covers. But he wants it because it's more.
Yeah. And this artwork, and it's, again, when I was like listening to that other podcast, the hedge fund guy, where he was like, it's incredibly accurate how Gordon Gekko's office looks. That's exactly what it would look like. The most expensive painting, art on the wall. They don't really know anything about it. It's just, it's the ability to have it.
I don't want to disparage the set designer for Wall Street, because I think the set designer was absolutely brilliant. The set designer also is the set designer for The Good Wife. Think about all of the scenes where we are in the office with all the computers, everything.
All of that is accurate. Full on, 100%. Really amazing job.
That set designer is Steven Hendrickson.
Shout out Steven Hendrickson.
Awesome. Great job, Steven.
I love your work. It's amazing, amazing work. Because like part of this is it's New York City, but then we see New York outside, right? And those are the beautiful cinematography shots. But inside, it's all this paper flying and people walking in fancy restaurants. His work is fantastic.
It captured New York of that time. It's I know I love it on the trading floors, the paper all over the floor, like as they're walking.
Yeah, that was a great shot.
And even this excess of art that we're talking about, Steven Hendrickson thought that we have to have this apartment that is just fucking ridiculous with art. Beautiful work.
It's accurate.
Yeah, I'm sure in the times that was not seen as like, oh, what a beautiful apartment they've done.
Oh.
It's so opulent and over the top. Definitely not appealing now or in 1985.
I might be liking this movie more as we talk more.
I think that's what it takes. I mean, it's funny. You guys were saying that you've watched it 3 times. I've watched it 3 times too. I liked it more as I was watching it. There was things that I was picking up. I still have an issue with the other characters because I think they're kind of weak, dialogue wise. Lou and Gordon really got the best lines.
What do you guys think about the whole turn of when, he tries to pitch Blue Star to Gekko, and then he has the meeting as an apartment with the higher ups at Blue Star, and he's pitching it to his father, and his father calls and says, that guy's a shark. Charlie Sheen starts yelling at his father. They go onto the street, and he pretty much tells him, you didn't have any guts to go out there and make anything for yourself. And then he fucking says to him, you never believed in me. This guy was giving you $300 to $500 a month just to cover your expenses when you're trying to become this stockbroker. I don't know if that was good writing or bad writing.
Honestly, yeah, that was. I had a lot of problems with the father-son sort of dynamic, the way it was being depicted, because I was like, I'm looking at Martin Sheen's character, and I'm like, this guy's a pretty good fucking guy. Like, I think he's doing whatever he can for his son. His son is just not willing to listen to it because he's young and he's hungry. And he so badly wants to live in New York City, and Manhattan at that time it's unattainable.
So I disagree with you slightly here on this one. I don't disagree that he was a good father, first off, and that he was supporting his kid. But there were certain things that he would say, like, "Oh, you stockbrokers, you don't really do anything." He kind of was a little bit like, "Oh, you guys make all this money, but you don't make anything," kind of a guy. So every kind of compliment, he definitely supported his son, but I think his son always had in his head, yeah, but you kind of shit on me a lot. Like, I'm doing these different things, and every chance you get, you kind of shit on me. Like, I'm doing stockbroker stuff. I come in here, you make fun of me. So I can see Charlie's character being like, "Hey, you never believed in me." I think that's the typical parent-child perspective, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, and I also think there's an issue with class, right? Charlie says poverty is no longer posh, right? Like, it's not cool to be poor anymore. I don't know when it was ever cool to be poor, but I guess the idea that there was honor, right? And coming from a place of like nothing. And again, American dream, guys, we can talk about the American dream here, but it's actually interesting, John, that you mentioned the fact that his father says, "Hey, you never created anything." Gordon Gekko says that's exactly the game. And it's the lack of creativity in that role, and I think his father sees that. What fills you there? And again, it's greed.
so there's a great part when Bud is suggesting some kind of shady Blue Star like advice for his dad. And his dad says the line, "I don't sleep with no whore, and I don't wake up with no whore. That's how I live with myself." And that's kind of like, oh my gosh, if my parent said that to me, I'd be like, oh, fuck. And honestly, if you boil this whole movie down, that's Charlie Sheen's character. He definitely sleeps with the whore. He definitely goes in there. And his father's judgment right there, I think, is what we're looking at right now. Like, that's where his father didn't necessarily support what he did for a living, his lifestyle, all those things. I think he supported him as a child or as his son, but that's where, to me, I disagree with you. I think, like, okay, I can definitely understand your position of like, he definitely supported him. He definitely was there for him, but he wanted him to just change his life.
I was going to say, it really comes through by the end where he wears a wire after the SEC finds out that he was doing backdoor deals and doing all this insider trading. And then he goes and wears a wire with Gordon Gekko in order to not get in as bad of trouble, but he's still going to go to jail. And his dad is driving him to the courthouse. And his dad even says, "You're going to be fine." He's like, "Dad, I'm going to go to jail." He's like, "Yeah, it's probably the best thing for you."
Well,
though."
I mean, and you know what's interesting about that line about sleeping with, was it the prostitute? It's funny because that particular line was a line that Martin Sheen never wanted to say. He actually kept fighting with Oliver Stone about it. He's like, "I just don't feel like my character would say that." Honestly, what you see of his father, it doesn't feel like a line, honestly, he would say. But I get what you're trying to say is that in the character, how we have to create this sort of arc where you have to feel like the father maybe didn't really ever really support him. He had to say this line. But it was funny. Martin Sheen was like, "I just don't feel like that's something I would really say to my son."
That's his response to Charlie saying that you never
Exactly.
believed in me.
Yeah.
You never supported me. So
Martin Sheen was wrong. That line is beautiful.
I agree. He was wrong in that
See,
case.
it's funny. I
Yeah.
looked at it and I go, I don't know. I see everything that I think his father is trying to say to him, and I don't know if his father would say that to him.
Now, that's
But I
a
think it
different
moves up
question, right?
narratives forward. I
That's a
do.
different question. Would his character say that? I mean, his character's kind of mamby-pamby. Oh gosh, we're going to do the right thing and let's go Union. We're going to do this. But would his character say to his son? Probably not. He'd probably be more supportive, but the internal monologue, because we mentioned before, internal monologues evidently come right out, would be, "Hey kid, don't sleep with Gordon Gekko. Don't jump into bed with Gordon Gekko. He is the dog with fleas. That's what he's basically saying. What you're doing is you're basically jumping into bed with the absolute opposite of a good, hardworking, respectable person for what? Money.
And also when Bud's getting arrested at work, Lou says to him, Bud, I like you. Just remember something. A man looks into the abyss. There's nothing staring back at him. At that moment, man finds his character, and that's what keeps him out of the abyss. And Charlie Sheen goes, yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. But he doesn't understand that. He has no clue he's even getting arrested at that point.
Both Bud nor Charlie Sheen understand.
Yeah. I'm sure the writer wrote it down and was like, I'm not sure what this means, but I'm sure it'll play well in Poughkeepsie. So what do you guys think that means, actually?
You're staring into the nothingness. At that point, you have to find out where your character is, because the nothingness is like eternal end. At that point, you have to, say you stand for something.
And I guess it's also the emptiness of the greed, right? You don't feel full, ever. It's a bottomless pit. It is the abyss. I'm going to quote Don Draper here from Mad Men. You're going to say, what is the definition of happiness? It is the moment right before you need more happiness. And that is essentially the idea of greed. It is never enough.
So I'm gonna top you. I'm gonna quote Nietzsche.
All right. Let's throw in some quotes in here.
He who fights with monsters should look into that he himself does not become a monster. And if you gaze long into the abyss gazes into you. Which this kind of flips around, whereas you're gazing into the abyss, but you have to look for that character.
Yeah, you have to find yourself in the abyss. So it is essentially in the cauldron of greed, right? You're in this idea that you're just stewing in it.
I think we should start a philosophy podcast. Let's do that. Let's quote Hans Gruber here.
You realize, like, this kind of theme runs everywhere.
I think it's really just powerful for Bud Fox, because he also says, like, he did not want to become Gordon Gekko. He just realized he was Bud Fox, which really is that he looked at his own character at that point. This is after that line. And he looked at his own character and he realized he is not Gordon Gekko. He is Bud Fox, and he will always only be Bud Fox. And where does that character lie? Well, that character turned in Gordon Gekko, faced up to the police or the FBI or whoever is after him, and said, okay, I'm going to actually try and live a decent life from now on.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And do cocaine and whatever.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's always the thing where you're like, okay, yeah, they do all these things. I'm going to say Wall Street 2 is an interesting follow-up to this.
It is. I would definitely suggest, if you haven't seen it, check it out.
Is Charlie Sheen in Wall Street 2?
He makes an appearance in one scene. It's like a throwaway scene.
It's essentially trying to give you an idea of who did Bud become.
He's still in that world.
Yeah, it's like he didn't really quite leave. I don't think you can. That's the whole thing. I don't think you ultimately learn lessons in this world.
Yeah, I feel Charlie Sheen's character, Bud Fox, is not really redeemable at the beginning or the end of this film. I feel like he was searching for it the whole time, and it's just because he got caught. He was so easy to get under the spell of Gekko, and he will do anything. Breaks into lawyers' offices in order to steal files. He does so much stuff just to attain what he thinks is success.
So hold on. You don't give him any credit for his father was having a heart attack, was in the hospital. He decided to go and give his father's word to all of the people at Blue Star, which I love. I've invested a lot in Blue Star. You don't give any redemption value to that.
Because that scene was not earned. It was not earned at all.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't feel it was earned. I feel it's that whole thing where, yeah, you feel it because it hits close to home. I don't know if it's worthy of redemption for the fact that the only reason why I feel like he's doing that is also to screw over Michael Douglas. He is doing it to save Blue Star, but he does it in a way purposely to screw over Michael Douglas also. He's like, oh, we're gonna boost the stock up, so all of us are gonna make a little bit of money, and then we're all gonna sell the stock so it starts dropping, so Gekko loses money, and then we're gonna bring in Sir Larry Wildman to give it to Gekko. And I don't really know how redeemable he is at that point.
Yeah, I don't like the lines of dialogue in that scene either. When his father says he's proud of him, are you really? Like, I don't know. All this shit just happened. You had a heart attack, and now he's just gonna come in here and go, yeah, I'm gonna try to save the company. But like, there's no real where's the fight here? There is no fight. Like, that's why I feel Bud is such a weak character, because even someone who is that money hungry, you feel it in Gordon Gekko. I think that honestly, if Bud is supposed to be this like younger version of Gordon, I don't sense that. He's so
Well, he's not. He's Bud Fox. That's
no,
what he says.
and ultimately we see that, right? I mean, it is very clear he's not Gordon Gekko, right? But I guess the drive of why he's doing all of this is I don't feel it.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I didn't love this movie, honestly, because I feel like Charlie Sheen's character is just such a catalyst character, and I don't really feel like he earned the redemption by the end.
He's reactionary, and you don't feel he had enough of an arc. His arc was it was unearned.
That's the whole thing, right? You're just watching this guy and you're like, I don't even need this guy in the film, really.
I'd watch it. Give me just Michael Douglas for 2 hours.
That would be amazing. It's just Gordon Gekko talking to himself in all these scenes.
I mean, Charlie Sheen has a scene where after they do his entire apartment, he's on the balcony after making love and having dinner with Daryl Hannah, and he's looking over into New York City, and he literally says, "Who am I?" I'm like, oh my God. Like, come on, dude.
I was
like,
ready to be like, no.
Yeah, it was a little too heavy-handed. That's what I was saying at the beginning of the episode, that I feel like the further you get along in this film, the worse it gets, because I feel like there's just no change in Charlie. Gordon Gekko is great throughout the whole thing. Martin Sheen's great through it. Daryl Hannah, not so much. But yeah, our lead actor, not great.
I know, and he's literally supposed to be kind of driving this, and it's unfortunate because you make a character like Gordon stand out so much because he has so much to say, and it drives the film forward, where honestly Bud is so passive. When I think about The Wolf of Wall Street, and you don't have any passivity with these characters.
I think that's a good pivot point for our next section. Then and now, we've talked a lot about the themes of this film, and also just the film itself being almost 40 years old now. How do we feel it holds up? John, why don't you go first?
I'm going to nail this.
I got the right answer.
I have the right answer. I'm going to say it's as good today as it was back then. But with that, keep in mind what I said before. Is that it is kind of riddled with storyline that doesn't change much. Yes, I don't disagree. I do think Bud's character had a little more story arc than you two, because you're wrong. But I do see it's a little tight. It's a little short. I more blame the writing. I blame the writing on Daryl Hannah's weakness in her character. She's kind of unimportant in the character, brilliant actress. But so how does it stand up then? I do feel that greed is clearly still a thing that we have right now. The loss of morality is a thing that we run into mostly with people who are just looking at their bank accounts ticking up. So I think it holds up. I think I'm looking at like, are there sexist things and racist things in this? Yes, there are, but it's not overly. It's more a character study on greed and what money will make you do. So I think it does hold up.
All right, Silvia, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, this film holds up in what it's trying to say about greed. And when we don't hold people accountable for some of that corruption around obscene wealth and morality and ethical checks, it's accurate. I think the unfortunate thing is that we put so much investment in writing such a beautifully villainous sort of character in Gordon Gekko, and then we spent no time in trying to create the counter. That is, for me, that's a problem, I think, and you're trying to tell this story, because like that is why I think Wall Street became the opposite of what Oliver Stone, I think, intended. He made Gordon just too attractive because the counter argument was just not there. And honestly, if only the robot butler turned a certain way, we would have had a totally different fucking story.
It's one of the crimes of the time, of the mid 80s. I mean, trickle down economics and this goddamn robot butler. I think you did a great breakdown right there, Silvia. I feel like Gordon Gekko was too attractive. Charlie Sheen's character was a little too one-dimensional. I do feel the film holds up. It's definitely worth a watch. Is it my favorite financial crimes movie? No. But I'll tell you what, the themes definitely do hold up. And for our last clip here, I'm going to let Gordon Gekko talk about wealth.
The richest 1% of this country owns half our country's wealth, $5 trillion. 1/3 of that comes from hard work. 2/3 comes from inheritance, interest on interest accumulating to widows and idiot sons. And what I do, stock and real estate speculation. It's bullshit. You got 90% of the American public out there with little or no net worth. I create nothing. I own.
And I feel that is so relevant to our times where these billionaires and oligarchs run so much of the United States, but they create nothing.
Absolutely. There's nothing creative about what they do.
I don't know what you're talking about. Just I want to say for the record, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Now we're on to one of our favorite segments. We might not all agree on everything in a movie, whether it holds up, whether the characters were well written, whether the cinematography or the set design was great, but we do come together to agree on one thing. Every week, we highlight either a cast or crew member, and I think it's no surprise who
Daryl Hannah.
Like Daryl Hannah. No, I was going to say the robot butler. You're missing these.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what you're talking about, John.
It's the robot butler. But who is it, Sylvia? Who we talking about today?
Well, we are talking about the wonderful Michael Douglas.
Yes, Michael Douglas, who recently, just 2 weeks ago, said he is retired from acting.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. He's acted for 5 decades. Obviously, he's Hollywood royalty. He is the son of screen legend Kirk Douglas, of Spartacus fame, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Fantastic actor who died in 2020. As we talked about before, I mean, this role was kind of pivotal because this style of him being the popularized villain kind of went forward in a lot of his films. He was also a producer. He produced One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which won 5 Academy Awards. A fantastic film. Yeah, I did not know he was a producer.
I didn't either, actually. I don't think I ever really recognized that in the credits. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, Oliver Stone said that he actually knew Michael Douglas more from being a producer on that than he did for his actual acting. That's how they actually started speaking to each other.
He was an excellent producer, a terrible actor.
Yes, but yeah, no, he broke out as a leading man in the 80s, as we see with Wall Street. Also, Romancing the Stone, I love. War of the Roses is fantastic. Yeah. There's so many great 80s movies. Fatal Attraction, which I haven't seen in forever.
I thought you were going to say I've never seen. I'd be like, Kevin!
No, you have to see Fatal Attraction. And then, in the 1990s, he did Basic Instinct, Falling Down, which is a cult film, fantastic film.
I love Falling Down, yeah.
Yeah, Falling Down is great. We might have to cover that one.
Falling Down, oh, such a good movie, yeah.
Well, why didn't we put that on our list? Oh,
that should be today. Let's go back. Let's do this again.
Okay, start again. We're doing Falling Down, the 1993 film, the social commentary, Falling Down. He also did The Game, the David Fincher film, which is great. Traffic in 2000. Won an Emmy for his portrayal of Liberace in Behind the Candelabra, which if you guys haven't seen that, that's Matt Damon and Michael Douglas. Have either of you seen Behind the Candelabra? It's a great film.
Absolutely loved it. Isn't he also in the series now? Is it on Apple TV or is it on Max? Is he playing Benjamin Franklin, that series?
I'm not sure. If he is, I would love to see him as Ben.
Fairly recently, I think it's a new series, actually. Yeah, he's playing Ben Franklin. So this must have been the last role he was like, all right, I'll do this.
I'm done. I've seen him in The Comiskey Method, which is fantastic. That's a series on Netflix. That's a great one.
I haven't seen that.
He won the Golden Globe for that, I believe. Definitely deserves to be highlighted. Sad to say that he won't be doing any more acting, but he had a stellar career.
Amazing.
Yeah, no.
Solid performer throughout. I can't think of a poor role that he played, even in the Marvel movies. Very memorable, carried the role that he wanted to play. Solid throughout. Great career.
I love him. I had a crush on him. So, I mean, Romancing the Stone, oh my God.
Yeah, fantastic film. All right, so we've covered this movie pretty thoroughly. Final reviews. Again, this had a 7.3 on IMDb. Why don't you give us your IMDb score and your brief review? Sylvia, let's start with you.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. Well, I enjoy this film for the relevant sort of commentary for really what it was saying about the 80s, right? But it's so incredibly relevant for today. Specifically, really, Gordon Gekko's character. So I can say that is still very strong in this film. I think the misses of this film is obviously it was misinterpreted by audience members. And I would say that the writing of some of the other characters in this film were just not as strong. So for me, the story felt a little bit weak. Like who who is Gordon really kind of going up against, right? We're just kind of watching Gordon on the stage, which I was completely entertained and I found him fascinating. Everything he was saying was incredibly fascinating. But evil always seems a little bit more tempting and interesting, right? Than the good guys. And so I'm going to give this a film I'm going to give it a 6.8.
6.8. Okay, fair. I would say, I love a great villain. I love a great villain. I feel like if you're going to have a villain, your movie might only be as good as your villain. I think that, I would say it's probably a 6.8, 6.9, somewhere in there. I feel there's a lot of one-dimensional characters in this. The relevance definitely makes it a must-watch if you are a cinephile and appreciate Michael Douglas's career. 6.9. How about you, John?
Wow. This is rare earth right here. So first, Steven Hendrickson. I said the name before. The set design. I think there's three major beautiful elements to this. One is Michael Douglas. Oh my God. His freaking performance is amazing. Second is New York City. So beautiful throughout this whole thing. Just lathered in beautiful New York City. Third, Steven Hendrickson, the set designer, getting every scene you never doubted that they were in a crappy office or a beautifully lavish, overly opulent office. Did just such a beautiful job. So here's our rare earth. I'm at 6.8. I'm right there with you guys. We don't agree on anything.
So what does it take? All of us watching a film 3 times and just really coming to a point where
we don't agree with the listeners. We don't usually agree. Usually one of us usually it's me, way down and the others are way up. But to me, it's a very good movie. It's well worth the watch. It has its flaws. You guys nailed it with the extra characters. Daryl Hannah, again, none of her fault because she was absolutely brilliant in what she did. Charlie Sheen, I think, really good job, but he didn't have a lot of meat there. Martin Sheen was the closest to having more like actual substance to his character, but he was featured so little in this film. But again, very good movie overall. 6.8, solid performance.
And listeners, that's our show. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please tune in to our next episode when we discuss the 2019 science fiction mystery film, The Vast of Night, directed by Andrew Patterson. And please don't forget to tell a friend and please give us a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll see you next week with another episode of Is It Streaming?